Hey guys, what's up? I know I haven't made a video for a while, but I thought I'd jump back into things with a video on weaponry for hunting Eidolons. This is going to cover a range of weapons, not just the one that I like to use or the one that I would run for a 6x3. I'm just going to talk through a range of weapons that you can use for hunting Eidolons. And I'm also going to mention the Paris Prime. Someone asked for a build on that in the Quick Run Paris Eidolon hunt I have on the channel. So yeah, I'm just going to run down some of the more meta weapons to start with, and then I'll go into the weapons you'd use for Avara. I'll just go over the build, some of the drawbacks and the benefits of each weapon, why you might want to use it, when you should use it, all that stuff. So yeah, we're going to start here with the Lanka. This is sort of what I'd consider the bottom tier meta weapon for killing Eidolons. The Lanka comes with two quite big drawbacks in my opinion when it comes to Eidolon hunting weapons. The first one being that it's a charged shot. You have to spend time charging a bullet before you fire, which can get kind of aggravating, at least for me. I should probably mention that all the weapons I'm going to be talking about here are personal preference, so don't be offended if the weapon you like to use isn't on here, or yeah, this is just what I like to use. But yeah, so we've got the charge time on the Lanka, and also the projectile flight speed. It's not a hit scan weapon, so there's going to be travel time between the gun and the Eidolon limb. And if you want to get a technically instant limb kill, you got to be able to time your shot right. So yeah. The benefits of the Lanka is that it does have the highest damage output of any sniper in one shot. It is the easiest to one-shot a limb with. You're pretty much guaranteed to one-shot a limb. I'm fairly certain you don't even need a Riven to one-shot a limb with the Lanka if you have a good Prime Cryo rounds build. It should work anyway, but I'll just look at the build I have here. So yeah, we just got a basic build centered around this Riven here. Crit damage and multi-shot. We're not going to focus too much on crit chance, since the Lanka's scope can provide us with crit chance. So we want crit damage over crit chance in this instance. This isn't the perfect Riven, of course. You could get negative zoom on here and that will be pretty damn good. And then yeah, we got the multi-shot, boosted crit chance a bit there, more crit damage, and then yeah, elemental for the rest. Vig armaments, you can interchange that. In fact, I'd probably actually put Vital acceleration on there just to reduce that charge time, but yeah, that build should do the trick for one-shotting limbs very easily. So yeah, this is what I would run for a Lanka. If you're running the Lanka, I would only recommend it really if you're just sort of starting off trying to build on Eidolon hunting, like you're going for 3x3s or 4x3s. I wouldn't recommend it for the faster runs because it can get really annoying to use when you're trying to speedrun things. So I would only recommend it if you're just starting out. It's a really nice weapon for when you're just starting out because it's a nice easy way to one-shot the limbs. So I'd use this. I used to use this a lot when I was just starting out. It's a nice starter weapon as it has the highest damage output in the game for one shot. Well, for snipers at least. But yeah, let's move on to the second weapon I'm going to show, which is the Vectis Prime. This is going to be the second meta weapon. Probably one of my most commonly used weapons, actually. The benefits of this is that you can remain scoped in whilst reloading. You can spam this weapon like crazy. It's very easy to stack combo multiplier on. Get your damage up nice and high early on. It boasts a relatively high base damage, an unfortunate 2-shot magazine as opposed to the 1-shot of the normal Vectis, but we'll come to that in a second. But other than that, yeah, it's a hit scan weapon unlike the Lanka, so you don't have to worry about timing shots. The bullet will hit instantly. And if we just look at the build here, similar as before. Oh, what have we got here? Let's replace that. So we've got our point strike build here. Again, not the best Riven in the world. Probably the best Riven to get on Vectis at the moment would be a triple stat with negative magazine capacity. I believe it's still possible to actually get the magazine down to 1 by use of a Riven if you have a triple stat. And that would allow you to use Charge Chamber or Prime Chamber if you're lucky enough to have one. If you do have a Prime Chamber lying around somehow, the Vectis is definitely your weapon of choice, especially if you can get a negative mag capacity Riven, because it will boost your damage so much, it will just be through the roof. So yeah, if I did have primed chamber, then I would 100% be using the Vectis the whole time, because it's would definitely be my weapon of choice. But yeah, the Vectis is more of a fun weapon to use than an ideal weapon, I'd say. It can do the job, but there's weapons that are better. It's just fun to use, in my opinion. It does also have a slight drawback on recoil. The recoil is slightly higher than other snipers, but it's not too big of an issue, if I'm being honest. So yeah, that's number 2 on our list here. And number 1 is obviously going to be the Rubico Prime. This boss is a very high crit chance, a very high crit multiplier, very fast fire rate, and a decent reload speed. It's pretty much an all-rounder and a no-brainer for speedrunning. It can one-shot limbs very easily, especially if you have a Riven. Once you get your common multiplier up to about 3 times, which is only 90 shots or something like that, or maybe even less actually, 3 times might only be 30 shots. But yeah, very useful for killing limbs. Instant hit scan, base impact damage, which is good against the Eidolon limbs. Let's just take a look at the build that I've got here. So we'll go here. Vital acceleration, again, we're building around crit chance and crit damage. Not the best Riven again. Like I've said in a previous video, you want your best Riven is probably going to be one with the 110% multi-shot and at least sort of 170% crit chance dual stat with a negative. That'll probably get you your highest DPS on this weapon. But yeah, this is the weapon that I primarily use in most of my hunts now. It's just very practical. Outranks all of the other guns by far. So yeah, I highly recommend getting your hands on one of these, getting a nice Riven for it if you can afford one. Definitely worth it. But now I'm going to move on to the Ivara weapons. So I'll switch over to Ivara just to make it all that much better. So the first Ivara item we're going to look at is the Castanas, the SANCTI Castanas here. They're quite fun to use. Obviously, when you're using Navigator, you're guiding the Castanas onto the limbs. It's a fun build. It's not practical. If you can get good at it, then it can be really fun. I'm not the best in the world at using these. I've only ever done 1 6x3 using the Ivara with SANCTI Castanas, so I'm by no means a professional with her. But yeah, so the way this build works is basically you just stick the Castana to the limb, and then when the shield goes down, you're going to pop it, and you should insta-kill the limb every time. Since the damage output is always the same, there's no range in damage output. As long as you have around 8,000 radiation and a decent crit chance and crit multiplier, you're going to always one-shot the limb. So yeah, it's just a fun build, really. And then yeah, I've got nice Riven here for it with a decent crit chance boost. And then finally, for Ivara, we have the Glaive. The reason I'm putting the Glaive, I'm going to put the Glaive in front of the Castanas purely because the Castanas rely on reaction time. So when the shield goes down, it's the time that it takes you to process that That's the time it takes for the limb to go down. Whereas with the glaive, you can throw the glaive and hover it in the limb until the shield goes down. And at which point, the limb will pop instantly, assuming you've got your build right. You shouldn't need a... I've just realised I'm looking at Serrata. You shouldn't need a Riven for this either. You can do this with Piercing Navigator and you should get your damage up quite easily. Yeah. The important thing is that you don't have any sort of bounce on here. So obviously I've got quick return here. We don't want it to bounce off the limb, we want it to stay within it. So when we're using our power, our fully charged throw with the glaive, we get punch through. And then with quick return, it prevents the glaive from bouncing off. So that's how that works. And you just keep it inside the limb and spin around in a stationary position until the shield goes down, at which point it pops. The drawbacks to this obviously are that the amount, especially me, the amount of times that I get the glaive throw completely wrong, or I throw it into a tree and it comes back to me and it ruins the run. Not ideal, but again, it's just fun. I think Avara's a really fun frame to hunt with, but yeah, by no means the most practical. I'd say Chroma still beats her on that. And then lastly, as per request, I'll show my Paris build here. Assuming it hasn't changed too much. No. So it's worth noting that this Paris build, it doesn't work without a Volt Shield. I'm pretty sure in that Paris run we did, we needed a Volt Shield in order to boost the damage enough to one-shot the limbs. But it's literally the same kind of build as the Rubico, but just building for crit multiplier and crit chance, and multi-shot as well. So yeah, my Riven there is a very nice Riven actually, with the plus crit damage plus multi-shot. Or you can go for plus crit chance plus multi-shot. I'm not sure it makes too much of a difference. I think the crit damage one actually did better than the crit chance Riven. I'm not sure. If you want to try using a bow to hunt Eidolons, then you're definitely going to need a Riven, because the damage output is so weak compared to the snipers that you're going to lose a lot of time. Or if your Volt's prepared to put down a few shields for you. But yeah, definitely wouldn't advise using a bow every run. Just for a little challenge, maybe. But yeah, I can do a more in-depth guide on these and show them in action if you want. But yeah, like I said, I just got back into recording again and back into the game. I've missed out on a lot of content which I want to be catching up on. So I'm going to be doing that probably before anything else. But yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any other suggestions or anything you want me to talk about or go through with regards to Eidolon hunting, or anything else in the game for that matter, then let me know in the comments. Again, ask any questions you want to. I'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. And I'll see you in the next video.